firecracker.
But she gets the job done.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's his grandson.
Yeah. I bumped into her somewhere and just said, hey, how are you? Adam, I go, oh, yes, of course. Isn't, oh my gosh, our interim minister, isn't Kathy wonderful? I haven't told this to anyone. Isn't Kathy wonderful? I said, yeah, she's great. She goes, oh, the old guy. Oh. It's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Everybody is so funny. People just have
Right?
ideas, right?
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
And are willing to share them.
Well, I guess she waited until she felt like it was.
Yeah. The old guy.
Not young, but
Yeah.
he didn't age, I guess,
Well,
from the time that I
he wasn't. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when he died. Yeah.
But just, I mean, even when he came on board, because I remember when he got to the congregation.
You talking to me? Oh,
Cleans up well.
okay.
How long have you been an adult now?
Been a while. Yeah, I'm middle-aged. I'm wearing middle-aged well, I hope. Yeah.
Well, you look youthful. Right.
Yeah.
Might be getting there.
Like when they refer to me being young on the board, like, I'm 46.
We're going to start.
Good morning, and it is so good to be together here at the UU Congregation of Asheville. And whether you're with us this morning in person or whether you're with us virtually, we are so glad for this chance to create beloved community. And so whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever brings you here today, we are so glad you are here. And I just want to take a minute so that we can give a special shout out to everyone who helped make Friday's sold out Holly Near concert successful. Woo! If you were a part of that effort, if you were here working on it, if you worked on it ahead of time, would you just raise your hand so we can say thank you so much to each and every one of you? Just so you know, we raised over $3,000 for the congregation in that concert. So today, I want you to put on your joyful hats because we have a very full service. It may go just a little long, so I want to warn you of that. And as we're thanking folks, we want to give a special thank you to Dr. Les, Simon on AV, Kim Collins, who's going to do our wisdom story, and Adam Griffith, who is our worship associate. Also, of course, the Sandburgers, who are providing today's music. Worship, of course, is what we do together. And so I want to invite you now, though, to take a minute to breathe deeply, to let the cares of the world be outside of this space that we create together. And let's center with these words from Andrew Kennedy. We come to love a church, the traditions, the history, and especially the people associated with it. And through these people, young and old, known and unknown, we reach out both backward into history and forward into the future to link together the generations in this imperfect but blessed community of memory and hope. So be sure to silence your devices and ready your hearts now to hear our centering music.
Good morning. This song is called Everybody In, and the chorus, we'd love to invite you to sing along. We're just going to show you how it goes, and then we're going to go right into the song. So here's the chorus.
Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle.
All right, everybody in? Everybody in? All right, let's go.
Jesus spoke entreating them to get together in a great circle of love. When his followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Oligarchs and tyrants try to keep some in and everyone else outside, till revolution sweeps across the land and the people all stand and the common folk cry, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes the circle is a class or creed.
Sometimes a circle is made of only men.
Till Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes the circle is a privilege thing, excluding people for the color of their skin, until the voice of Martin Luther King said, let freedom ring now, let them in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Gay and straight, rich and poor, whole and broken, open up that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we all are one. Bring in the people, but don't stop there. Bring in the fish in the sea and birds in the air. Bring in the rivers wide and mountains tall. We go together or not at all. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle.
It's great to have the Sandburgers back. We will now have the lighting of our chalice with Lucille Martin. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation. If you find the subtitles closed captioning distracting, you can turn it off if you're watching online. Place your cursor on the video, and the bar appearing at the bottom includes a CC block on the right. Click on that. Will you now please rise in body or spirit for the singing of hymn 1018, Come and Go With Me.
Good morning. My name's Kim Collins, and I'm one of the religious educators here. And I have a story to share with you this morning about some of our Unitarian ancestors. So many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, which is in Europe, it's in, let's see, I looked it up, which is a historical and cultural region of Central and Eastern Europe. There was a village there in the mountains. So just like here in Asheville, these people lived in a mountainous area with mountains and trees and streams. So I just like to think of it as looking like this. So these people needed a church. So we have a church here, right? But these people did not have a church. So just imagine that we all had to build a church together. And that's what these people do. So the people of the village, they labored long and hard. They cut windows. They cut down big pieces of wood to make the frame. They cut giant pieces of stone to make the walls. And they even brought a bell. So they had to get this bell from a faraway city, and it took everyone, and they had to hoist it up to the top. So just imagine if there was a bell way up there. We don't have one. The local blacksmiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and hammered thin bronze into oil lamps, shining oil lamps. So finally, everything was done. The people came and they painted it. They painted it in beautiful colors, bright red, bright blue, gold. They painted designs around the windows and different designs around the doors. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, all the people of the village stood back to admire it and then to sing a song of happiness and praise. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, "and later tonight we will come back to pray." So most of the people left. So most of the people went back to their houses, but a little girl named Zora and her dad stayed behind. So they had brought some bread and cheese to eat for their own supper. So they're just kind of hanging out, looking at the church, and they decided to go inside and check out the inside when no one was there. And Zora said, "Oh, look, Father, see how grand it is in here." And her father said, "Yes, it is." And she said, "Father, we have not finished." And he said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "There's no lamps in and the lampstands, they're all empty. And the father said, oh, okay, well, the light of the church comes from its people, right? That's where the light of this church comes from. And you'll see. So the sun was setting, and it's getting dark, and they're hanging out outside, and all of a sudden she sees these tiny points of light come from all different directions up to where the church is. And so she sees all the lights, and they're moving closer together. And her father says, you see, each family is entrusted with a lamp. So each family gets one of those brass lamps to take home. And the light of the church comes from its people, again. So in the distance, Zora sees her mother come in with a lamp, with a hammered lamp. And father, they get there, the mom gets there, and so then they get together, and then the father lifts Zora up, and so she places their family's lamp into the beautiful tall iron stand that someone made with their hands. And all through the worship service, Zora watched the lights, and they flickered and glowed. She watched her family's lamp most of all. And when the service was over, her father lifted her high. She took the shining bronze lamp from the lampstand. Its curved sides were warm and smooth in her hands, and her mother carried the lamp home with the flame lighting the way. The lamp flame lit their house when they returned home. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. Mother, Zora began as she climbed into bed and laid down. Yes, little one? Father said the light of the church comes from its people. Yes, but also the people take their light from the church. Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning, and we have that light every day. Yes, indeed, said her mother, and even when we are not in church, even when the lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light from truth and love, will never go out. Never, asked Zora. Never, said her mother, and this bronze lamp will last for many, many years. When you are grown, we will give the bronze lamp to you, and when your children are grown, you will give the lamp to them, and all of you will carry it back and forth to church every time. But there is only one lamp, Zora said, so make another, and let the light grow, and someday tell your children to make more lamps too. The years passed, Zora grew, the bronze lamp came into her care. She kept it polished and clean, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. And always, the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continued to grow and show them and us the way.
And so we're going to take a moment now to center ourselves in a time of meditation and prayer. And this is actually written by my dear colleague Clyde Grubbs. It's called History's Road. The road of history is long, full of both hope and disappointment. In times past, there have been wars and rumors of wars, violence and exploitation, hunger and homelessness, and destruction of this earth, your creation. We have become a global village with a growing realization of how fragile this earth is and how interconnected we are to each other and to all creation. We cannot continue to live in the old way. We must make a change, see a new way, a way toward peace with justice and a healthy planet. O great creative spirit, you have given a vision of the good, and we yearn for a new way. But where are we to find the courage to begin this work? We know that a different tomorrow is possible, but how can we build it? We think of the prophets, people who voiced unpopular opinions, who made personal sacrifices, and sometimes lost their lives for the sake of justice. We think of Isaiah, who called out to let those who are held in captivity go free, to give solace to the poor and the homeless. Let us be inspired by all who work to overcome misery, poverty, and exploitation. We think of Harriet Tubman, who called out to people of goodwill to join her on an underground railroad, to lift a dehumanized people from the bondage of slavery to the promise of freedom, even when it meant challenging unjust laws. Let us be inspired by those who are outlaws for freedom. We think of Gandhi, whose belief in soul force, the witness to love's truth, helped to overthrow the oppression of an empire and gave witness to the way of nonviolent action. Let us be inspired to become witnesses for peace. We think of Chief Seattle, who reminded us that we belong to the earth, not the earth to us. Let us be inspired by all who work for the healing of creation, of Mother Earth and all her creatures. May they join a great cloud of witnesses to a new way of life, the way of peace and justice, the way of justice lived according to the way of peace, the beloved community. We take a moment to hold silence together. So may it be. Amen, Ashe, Aho. And now is the time when we take a little time to acknowledge our joys or sorrows with a ritual of water and rocks. And for all that grieves our hearts, we add salt to brine the water in this vessel. And for all that brings our hearts joy or celebration, we scatter flower petals to symbolize our happiness or our contentment, also seeded with water from our water communion. Now, if you're joining us online, please feel free to share your joy or sorrow in the chat box. And if you have a joy or sorrow, please come collect a rock and place it in the vessel that works for you. We invite you to go straight towards the middle in your lines so you can come down those steps. If you have shared a joy, know that we rejoice with you. And if you have shared a sorrow, know that you are held in love and care by this community. And we are adding a rock to each vessel for the joys and sorrows of our community carried by those who are not present with us today, because our community is one community gathered or apart. We do want to let you know, for those who might not, that childcare is available should you decide you need that. Otherwise, our kids are welcome and we love to see them here. It is our future. But now it's time for a musical reflection.
Anybody know Shelter from the Storm by Bob Dylan? Okay, well, we're going to butcher it together. But during the song, I think, is really about his wife and how his wife was a shelter from the storm for him. But during COVID, I rewrote it to be about us and how we can shelter each other from all the storms we come upon. So the chorus, we're going to sing the chorus together, though, and the chorus goes like this. It says, "Come in," we said, "we'll give you shelter from the storm." It goes like this. "Come in," we said, "we'll give you shelter from the storm." "Come in," we said, "we'll give you shelter from the storm." And to help with the rhyming, pronounce storm like Nancy from Boston would. So you say, "shelter from the storm." It'll help with the rhyming scheme, okay? He won't listen, my old dad. He won't try to understand. Because I am this way, don't make me any less a man. This is not a phase, it's at the core of who I am. Come in, we said. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, I have 3 kids, Junie, Gage, and Tom. And I have been so tired since I became a single mom. I'll clean up this mess when I get some rest. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. I know I need some friends, and I haven't really tried. But it's been so hard just to get up since my husband died. It's time for me to find my way and to make Asheville home. Come in, we said. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. From the church that raised me, I still got some wounds. And relations with my family, I fear, are forever ruined. I just need a place to heal and is safe and warm. Come in, we said. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. I get told I'm not good enough every day when I'm at school. I'm ashamed of my body and the furthest thing from cool. Adolescence, I'm just so done with you. Let me go back to being born. Come in, we said. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter from the storm. It'll be a miracle if I pay this month's rent. Where did it all go? I swear I rarely overspend. It wasn't in my plan to be part of the working poor. Come in, we said. Come in, we said. We'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said. We'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, I've journeyed to this country. In the shadows I reside. I'm just trying to feed my kids, but now I gotta hide. I offered my innocence and got repaid with scorn. Come in, we said. Come in, we said. We'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said. We'll give you shelter from the storm. Come in, we said, we'll give you shelter.
Thank you, Brett Dillon. That was wonderful. I never thought I would say this, but I actually own 7 boats. Sounds terrible. After just watching the Barbie movie with my wife. No, we're not immorally rich, and yes, one of them is blue. I'd like to tell you I own one for each UU principal, but that would be a lie. The first boat I got was a 17-foot sea kayak. It was a coping mechanism, a way to connect with nature in the large concrete jungle of Houston, Texas, where I moved when I was 22. The other boats came to me to navigate the rivers of the Southeast. A creek boat, a large kayak made for descent of steep, fast-moving rivers. A playboat, a tiny little one to do tricks in waves and holes. A solo canoe for when I needed a change of pace, and a tandem canoe for when I got lonely. And then another sea kayak, because who wants to sea kayak alone, so you get the point. So I have a boat or a tool for whatever the river of life throws at me. And that's exactly what I find here. I find more spiritual tools that better allow me to navigate the many rivers of life. The scary rivers of my professional life. The scary rapids of my professional life and river. The fun rapids of my family life and river. So the wisdom and the experiences we draw from each other here and from the Reverends Audette and Claudia make us better people and allow us better to react to life. I loved last week's quote that our anger has higher standards. So when I come here, I realize that. And also, it allows me to realize that a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
So I'm going to begin with a small confession. History is not my forte. I'm not one of those people who holds names and dates in my mind. What I do is I keep it in a book, and I know where the book is so I can reference it. Even so, I do believe that Unitarian Universalists really need to understand and familiarize ourselves with our history and our theological roots. We need to know and understand how impactful both branches of our theological heritage have been, especially on shaping the public good in the United States. Now, of course, like all histories, ours is mixed. We're also still relearning some of our history that wasn't acknowledged or carefully tended, especially the histories of women and of our BIPOC and queer ancestors. But far too many Unitarian Universalists simply don't know much about our history and even often divorce us from our Universalist half, referring to us in conversations as Unitarians. We are not. We are Unitarian Universalists, but if you have to shorten it, we're UUs. And after all, don't you want to be able to let your friends know that the famous circus entrepreneur P.T. Barnum was a passionate Universalist, or that Clara Barton, the founder of the Red Cross, was? Now, of course, on any given Sunday, I can only tell you a very small part of our story. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the story of one of our founders of Universalism in the United States, John Murray. And that means that we get to begin with the only recorded miracle in our Unitarian Universalist history. And that makes it one of my very favorite stories. And since I'm no historian, it's important for you to know that a lot of what I'm sharing today comes from the seminal work by Charles Howe on Universalism in America. It's called The Larger Faith. And if you'd like to, you should read it. So here we go. John Murray was an Englishman who came to the United States on the heels of a bruising round of personal misfortune. He'd been a lay preacher in the Methodist Church in England, but he'd been excommunicated after he began sharing John Relly's Universalist leanings. Now, Universalism, for those who don't know, is this heretical notion that all are saved. After the Methodist excommunicated him, both his son and his wife died. Not from the excommunication, it was something else. But to top it all off, he was also forced into debtor's prison for a time. Finally, he decided, I'm going to make a fresh start in the new world, and he set sail. But of one thing, he was very sure: no more preaching for him. I have sometimes felt that way myself, but not today. He was avowedly disgusted with institutional religion, and he didn't want anything else to do with it. Now, meanwhile, back on these shores, a New Jersey man named Thomas Potter quietly farmed his land. Potter was uneducated, but he was deeply religious, and he had built a small church on his property. He was waiting, he said, for a preacher who would preach just a certain some way. And although he regularly welcomed itinerant ministers into his chapel, he was still waiting to hear a message that he could wholeheartedly accept. He didn't know what it was, but he was sure he would know it when he heard it. Meanwhile, years passed. Now, on its journey, this ship in which Murray had set sail ran aground on a sandbar on the New Jersey coast. And then Murray went inland with a few others to acquire provisions while their boat was stuck. And there he ran into Mr. Potter. And during an exchange of pleasantries, Potter learned that Murray had done some preaching in his time. And so he was very persistent in urging Murray to preach in his church. Now, having sworn off preaching, Murray refused, but finally he gave in, trying to put Potter off by saying that he would preach the following Sunday, but only if the wind didn't change before that time and move the ship off the sandbar. Potter was adamant that the wind would not change, and it turns out he was right. The sea remained calm, the ship remained firmly aground all throughout the week, and on the next Sunday morning, true to his word, Murray took to the pulpit and preached his sermon on universal grace, the first one in the United States, on September 30th, 1770. It was evidently just the sermon that Potter had been waiting to hear, but Murray was also changed by it. All of his former reservations about preaching vanished. Interestingly, soon after the service ended, while they were greeting each other afterwards, the people who had come from town to hear, a sailor arrived at the chapel with word that the wind had changed and they were ready to set sail. Both Potter and Murray agreed that the whole situation was clear evidence of divine providence at work, and thus we have the only miracle that we know of in our UU history. Now, before I tell you a little more about what Murray did after his auspicious New World debut, it is probably a good idea to mention a little bit about the theological landscape so you can understand why Murray had been excommunicated for his theology and what exactly that theology was. Now, this was the time of Calvinism, and the doctrine of predestination. Does anybody know what predestination is? Anyone? Someone, shout it out. You have no control over your future. You're already either going to heaven or going to heck. Anyway, the strong religious tenor of the time was the belief that the road to salvation was narrow and that damnation and hellfire were waiting for all but the most pious. But additionally, for those who believed in predestination, there was an understanding that no matter what you did personally, if you were not already born on God's roll call of the saved, nothing you did, nothing you could do could put you on that list. Of course, a lot of things could remove you from the list. And even if you were actually enough to be lucky to be born as one of God's elect, you could slip off at any time. It was sort of double jeopardy in that way. At the time of the great Universalist miracle, Murray was persuaded by the Universalist theology of James Relly, who thought that true believers, by his standards, in the Christian gospel would go directly to heaven, but unbelievers would spend a period of time in hell until they could be convinced to become believers, and then they too would go to heaven. So the significant point in that is that everyone would eventually go to heaven. And that was a big change in theology at the time. It was a little bit of a both-and theology because there was a little bit of hell for bad guys, but everyone else would get to go to heaven. And it was very popular for a while. Murray was often quoted as saying, "Give them not hell, but hope." After reaffirmation of his preaching mission, Murray began to preach up and down the northern seaboard, and he would spread this message of universal salvation. And he was a little circumspect at first, but in time he grew very bold. And then this led to some Orthodox types wanting to censure him or discredit his theology. At one preaching event in Boston, a rock was thrown through the window of the church where he was preaching, and it narrowly missed his head. He is reported to have immediately picked up the rock and said, "This argument is solid and weighty, but it is neither rational nor convincing." Another time he was in debate with an Orthodox minister by the name of Bacon. His views were so warmly received that some of Bacon's supporters went out and got eggs and threw them at Murray. To this he merely responded, "These are moving arguments, but I must own at the same time that I have never been so fully treated to bacon and eggs before in all my life." Our foreparents were quite witty. At this time in American history, there was not separation of church and state, and I think this is important to note here. Regions were organized around parishes. Some still are. And all residents were taxed with monies going to support the established church of that parish. When John Murray decided to settle in Gloucester, 31 people, preferring Murray's vision of the good news of universal salvation, chose to leave the town's first parish church, and together they built and dedicated the first Universalist church in the U.S., which was called the Independent Church of Christ. The Universalists then refused to pay the town tax levied to support First Parish Church, arguing that they should not be forced to support a church that they didn't attend. Now, at first this did not go well. Church items were seized, they were sold to pay back taxes, but the Independent Church of Christ persisted and instituted a lawsuit against First Parish, not only seeking tax relief for themselves, but for all religious groups outside of the standing order. In 1786, the case was declared in favor of the ICC, and thus the Gloucester Universalist won a significant blow for both religious freedom and the separation of church and state. And we have to mention, of course, that John Murray in time married Judith Sargent Murray, who was a dramatist and an author of some note. In addition, she was an ardent feminist, often considered the United States' first leading feminist. Her essays on the subject of women's status would in time be seen to be some 50 years ahead of most of her peers in argument and in form. There's also a rumor that she was not considered a typical minister's wife, and she irritated members of the parish as a result. Oh well. By May 25th, 1790, there were enough Universalist churches that a decision was made to unite for the support and betterment of all. Now, this would come to be known as the Philadelphia Convention. And I mention it not only because it was the beginning of a Universalist association, some 35 years prior to any such movement in the Unitarian fields, but also because this convention also went on record on such issues as war, going to law, holding slaves, oaths, and submission to government. So lest there be any doubt, they were on public record in 1790 as being against slaveholding and war. Now, this is the thing about all of our heritage, our Universalist, our Unitarian, it all matters. From these foreparents, we get our convictions that all of us matter, and that wherever we're going there together. When our two traditions merged in the 1960s, the Universalists, who were fewer than in number, but they brought more real property to the merger, feared that they would be subsumed into Unitarianism and erased both spiritually and practically. And when we call ourselves Unitarians, we do that. In one stroke, we wipe out hundreds of years of theological love, work, and change-making from our faith. We are Unitarian Universalists, inheritors not of just one, but two historical traditions built by brave and bold people who were willing to risk being heretics and outsiders, who were not content with received wisdom, but who persisted in carving out a path which made sense and felt authentic to them at the time, something to believe in. I think we can agree that if there's one thing we modern UUs absolutely do share with our ancestors, it is this urge and this powerful call to be spiritually authentic, to bring curiosity, bravery, and a hunger for justice-making to all that we do. We've never been a faith that believes that revelation is sealed. Revelation is ongoing, and we, with our bright minds and compassionate hearts, are part of writing that story. And so let us remember that we do come from somewhere, that our religious history is older than even the story of this nation, and that we are the ones writing all that our children and our children's children will inherit and co-create in their time. We are both children and authors of our story. May we write one this hurting world needs. May we be shelter in the storm. Amen, Ashe, blessed be.
Won't you please rise as you are willing and able and join the Sandburgers in singing the Unitarian National Anthem, hymn 1064, Blue Boat Home. You. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
That was a test. You failed the test, Adam.
I did.
No, that was all planned. Okay, so this is maybe probably the most popular song we sing of Peter Mayer's, but the first song, Everybody In, was also a Peter Mayer song. below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never a harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry seas, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in her beautiful blue boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat.
Now we would like visitors to introduce themselves if they're comfortable. We have ushers who will bring a microphone to you. And if you would like to introduce you to us and tell us where you're visiting from, feel free to do so.
Hi, I'm Frankie Harrigan, visiting from Southern California.
Welcome.
I'm Walter Peary, visiting from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Blacksburg, Virginia, and this is my second visit here.
Welcome. Well, thank you. And if we can please show our visitors some love in Sandburg Hall and approach them with kindness and conversation. We have a moment to recognize the Ramig's 60th wedding anniversary. So if we could please. Our announcements run as slides at the beginning of the service. If you missed them, refer to Thursday's weekly e-news as everything is described there. If you didn't receive the e-news, please ask an usher to show you how to sign up. And we now have a quick announcement from the auction committee.
Our UU auction is coming. High five.
We need donations to stay alive.
This year, it's camping.
Sorry?
We should have somebody coming across.
Where
We're
is
waiting
there-
for our other actors to join us.
Are they here? Ah! Or Maybe it's glamping.
We'll be celebrating the great outdoors.
What can you contribute to make it yours?
Check our table out in Sandburg Hall.
Or on our website, we have it all.
November 11th, 2023.
What can I give? Well, let me see.
A backyard s'mores party.
Yeah.
A class and demonstration about composting. Delivered to your door.
A campfire party with
Look at her.
roasting ears and oil-packed dinners. Pool party.
Thank you all. We'll see you there.
Margaret, are boats accepted for donation? I have 7. I would like to make up for my Unitarian Universalist transgressions, Kim. There is still time to register for Reproductive Justice, expanding our Social Justice Call series, which launches September 12th. Registration details in the e-news or see Reverend Claudia after the service. Reverend Audette has a quick announcement.
And there's also still time to join ministers' soup and soul suppers. We still have a couple of spaces in each one. All you have to do is come join me for a small group dinner. You don't have to bring anything. It's just a time to get to know each other.
Our community plate partner this month is Transmission. And we have Sharon Hansen, Administrative Director for Transmission, here this morning to share with us. You can contribute by writing Community Plate in the memo line of your check. Thank you, Sharon.
Hello, thank you all for welcoming a fat, queer, non-binary, disabled person into your service. My name is Sharon, as you've already heard. My pronouns are she and they, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about Transmission and the work that we do. Transmission started as the idea that trans people deserve the same basic human rights and dignity that a lot of people take for granted. It grew into a grassroots group in a basement, and for the last 22 years has continued to grow and evolve, but our mission has always remained the same: to make the lives of transgender, non-binary, and gender-divergent individuals safer, happier, and healthier through education, advocacy, and support. I've been with Transmission for 7 years, and during that time, I've learned so much, not only about our community, but about myself as well. My introduction to the word transgender came through an internet group called Scary Mommy. It's a group for moms to ask parenting advice about kids of all ages. For example, one of the moms posted the question, what do I do when my kid refuses to stop putting his peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the VCR? One of the other moms suggested you just have to throw the whole thing away. And the original mom responded with, the VCR or the kid. So one day in this group, another mom posted an article about a 17-year-old transgender girl named Leela Alcorn. Leela had posted her suicide note on her internet blog, explaining how her parents did not support or accept her, and she felt like she'd reached the end of everything that she could possibly accept. Her parents had locked her in her room and sequestered her from all of her friends. They even made her undergo conversion therapy. Thousands of people reached out to Leela through the internet, but it was too late. She committed suicide later that evening. I didn't understand what the issue was. I had to Google the word transgender. I didn't know, I didn't understand. But what I found out was when I did, a light went on in my head. I knew that I was not trans, but what I found out was when I was little, I was very tomboyish. And although my parents always told me, you look so much prettier if you wore a dress, I didn't want to wear a dress. I wanted to be in jeans and t-shirts like all the other boys. I still wanted to wear nail polish and makeup and be cute in my jeans and t-shirts and look cute in my boy clothes. But I did not want to wear a dress. I didn't want to be a girl, but I didn't necessarily want to be a boy either. I didn't have a word for it then, but I know now that it's non-binary. So understanding that helped me learn a lot more about myself. And it made me realize that there are other kids out there like Leela, and there are other parents like Leela's parents. And I could not understand how parents could turn their back so completely on their children, and that I needed to do something for those kids. So I started volunteering with Transmission. And since that time, we've walked into schools with children who are being bullied both by teachers and by students. We've sat down with teachers and administrators and counseled them on the proper use of Title IX administration so they can use their preferred names and pronouns. We've hosted countless voter registration rallies, and we've actually walked into polls with voters who were too scared to go alone. During COVID, we transformed our entire office into a food pantry, which we still run now. And our pantry is a little bit different than a lot of the food pantries in the area because we don't require any financial information from our clients, and we let them shop for themselves, so we know that they're getting food that they will use and enjoy. It's not something that a stranger put in a box. We offer a clothing closet, so community members can find free gender-affirming garments. We have gender-specific support groups for trans-masculine, trans-feminine, non-binary, queer, trans and Black, Indigenous people of color, and families of trans children. We also have social events that are open to everyone, including friends and family. What we need from you beyond monetary support is your voice. North Carolina has passed laws prohibiting medical treatment for trans patients under the age of 18. This means anyone who is talking to their therapist about the possibility of hormone blockers is no longer able to do so. Hormone blockers postpone puberty in teens who are exploring their gender identity or who have come out as transgender. You all remember what puberty was like. Now imagine going through it twice. That's what happens when a transgender person starts hormone therapy, instant puberty. So, excuse me. Hormone blockers are a safe way to postpone the onset of puberty, but that option has been taken away from doctors, parents, and trans kids by politicians who have no medical training, have no background to say what's best for these children. The safety and effectiveness of this treatment has been proven time and time again in cis children who have precocious puberty. It's been used for decades, so we know it's a safe treatment. So we're asking if there are any doctors in the congregation to pray and meditate on the treatments available and do what's right for your patients. We need your voice to tell our representatives that drag is not a crime. Equating drag performers with trans women is dangerous. Drag performers are just performers. Trans women are not men in dresses, and they live every day in fear of violence. Drag is just an easy way for politicians and protesters to get their foot in the door. Once drag is outlawed, the next step will be to make being transgender a crime. Where does it go from there? Who's next? Look at your neighbor. They may be the next on the list. Maybe it'll be you. These hate bills are rooted in fear and ignorance. The same fear and ignorance that caused Leela Alcorn her life. Please, if any of you have any questions, find me after this. I'll do my very best to answer them. If you're already an ally, thank you. We need your support now more than ever. Speak up, speak out, support the trans community by supporting our programming. Even small actions can make a noticeable difference. Imagine what an entire congregation could accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing your courage with us. You can contribute by writing Community Plate in the memo line of your check, and also donate at transmission.org. That's TRANZ mission.org. If this is your first time here, please let the collection plate pass you by. This service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. Today's offering will now be collected and gratefully received.
Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down the pallet soft and low. Make me down a pallet on your floor. The way I'm sleeping, my back and shoulders tight. The way I'm sleeping, my back and shoulders tight. The way I'm sleeping, my back and shoulders tight. I gotta roll on over, try the other side. Said, make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Lay me down a pallet soft and low. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Country where there's cold, sleet, and snow. Oh, going up country where there's cold, sleet, and snow. Going up country where there's cold, sleet, and snow. No telling how much further I may go. Say, make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet soft and low. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Make me down a pallet soft and low. I'm broken, lonely, I got no place to go.
For the gifts of your time, your presence, your talents, and your treasure, we are grateful.
Okay, sing along if you know it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. Oh Lord, through the revolution, feed the babies, children with no shoes on the feet? How's the people living in the street? Oh, there's a solution. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. Fly through the revolution. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. Oh Lord, through the revolution.
These extra minutes are so worth it, aren't they? Yeah. May all that has come before help us be a blessing to all who will come after. And as we go, may we go out in peace and return in joy. We want to invite you now to rise in body or spirit. We'll sing our UU closing song, after which you're invited to greet each other in Sandburg Hall and share coffee and fellowship.